Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stays Between Us. I am joined by a co-host today that you saw on the last podcast, and someone really, really special. Really, his resume is amazing. He's been in a lot of things. One of them being a Emmy-nominated movie called The Golden Hour.
Yes.
Ash vs. Evil Dead. The Post Malone video, Pharrell. There was a Power Ranger one as well. The Spartacus, right?
Yes.
And then there was another one called Havana.
Yeah.
That one was like a mini series as well.
Yeah.
And also Come Dine With Me.
Yeah.
New Zealand as well. I've actually
Zealand.
watched it. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. You know the thing is, I googled your name,
Yeah.
Kelvin Taylor,
Yeah.
and it said, "What happened to Kelvin Taylor?" And I clicked on it, and it said he was shot dead. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. It said he was shot dead in the chest. I was like, "Are you guys sure?"
There's a bunch of like Kelvin Taylors in America at random, so you have to type in either actor or and then there's an NFL one.
There's an NFL one as well. Yeah.
He plays NFL, so it gets complicated. We all know each other because we've all gotten in contact. Someone sent something to one of us, and it was supposed to go to the other one.
The other one, yeah.
So.
Well, that was not the one for sure. So thank you so much, though, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
And if you have any messages at the start for the people watching,
for the people watching, enjoy yourselves. You're about to get shaked and baked. All right, dudes in the house, and we're brewing. So
let's do it. Yeah. Talking about dudes brewing, he also has his podcast as well.
Yes.
So shout out to his podcast.
Small plug.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Bro, you look rich.
Thank you, man.
They're really rich.
Thank you.
Who's brewing, bro?
Yeah, bro.
Whipping it up.
If I knew, I would have wore something as well.
Get out of here, man.
Fuck.
Get out of here. I'm trying to be camera ready.
Yeah. No. You look good, bro. You look good. So, how are you doing, man? I read somewhere that you started off as a model.
Yeah, I did. It started out initially through, it was a modeling agency I got referred to from my high school. It was one of the counselors just like looked at me while I was in high school and like, it was weird. I looked totally different. I had a bald head and I had like this like Egyptian like one line. What's it called? It's called the chef. It's like a chef's something beard.
Like the guy in The Mummy.
Yeah, like that. That's how
sophisticated look.
That's how I look like. Might have to put a photo up. Nice. But yeah, I used to look like that dude. And yeah, my high school counselor was just kind of like, "Hey, you want to sign to an agency or have you ever modeled before?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." She was like, "You got a great look. Here's his contact details." And so, I signed to a modeling agency called Glamour, in Virginia Beach.
Which year?
That was 2005. 05,
yeah.
She referred me to it in 03, and then like by 05, I said, okay, I'll get in contact with those dudes.
And how did that go?
That went cool. I got introduced to, at the time, it was like in 05, there was a huge like urban like fashion craze that was coming out. Like Pharrell Williams had just did Billionaire Boys Club.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of like urban like brands that were just popping out, just trying to
FUBU.
It was like the next generation of what FUBU was.
Yeah.
So it was like this new streetwear.
Yeah.
Essentially it was just like all new like hip things, but it was like very blingy, you know?
Yeah.
So, because Pharrell's very billionaire, bling bling.
Yes.
And and he's from my home city, so by chance, I got linked up with some of the same designers that was on the Billionaire Boys Club team.
Yeah.
Some guys from Schmack Clothing and Indigo Red.
Speaking my dream, bro.
Yeah, bro. And then like a bunch of girls after that, and then just like Mercedes.
It was like literally in the like heat of like Drop It Like It's Hot by Snoop.
Yeah.
That had just came out, so it was just this whole like it was a vibe.
Yeah.
It was a vibe.
Quick question though: were you ever invited for a Diddy's party?
Yeah, actually, I have had a Diddy experience.
Really?
Yeah, I had a Diddy experience. Yes.
Are the rumors true?
The diddler is a menace. He is an absolute menace. Yeah, it's true, man. Like I have an uncle that works in the music industry.
Yeah.
Actually, he works for ASCAP, music licensing.
Yeah.
So any song that ever comes on the radio, it goes through ASCAP. That's how they get a license. ASCAP
Yeah.
or BMI. I think
Yeah.
here it's called ARI.
Yeah.
Or ARIA or something, but it's the same thing. And so he knows all the major record labels. My uncle would come down from New York to Virginia Beach often. So he used to work with Timberland and Teddy Riley. And so I was sort of always around music, the music industry.
Celebrities and stuff as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and he kind of gave me a heads up on the Diddler.
Really.
Pretty early regarding some of his parties and events, but
yeah.
he's definitely not the only one for sure.
But
There's way more than
like,
him
is that the best way to get a contract though?
to get a to get entertainment. Well, it's a fast track way of
Yeah.
potentially getting it.
Yeah.
But my philosophy, it's very true. I feel like fast cash comes with slow problems.
True.
Which
That's
means
true.
you don't see the results of your consequences until later. So you have to sort of live and cope with some of those choices. You don't have to do those things, but some people feel like, hey, this is the way the business has been since the beginning. So yeah, I would advise someone to avoid that type of path. But yeah, I had a Diddy encounter. I got invited to his 50th birthday party in 2019.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I was in LA.
With Kevin Hart and the Jay-Z.
Everyone was there. It was Kevin Hart, Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Wow.
There was just a whole slew of celebrities and everything. And my best friend at the time, shouts to you, Rakeem, whatever. That's the homie, whatever. We're still bros. But he tried to set me up to go to Diddy's house, literally. And his manager is Waka Flocka. I don't know if have you heard of Waka Flocka? Yeah, hard to paint. Yeah. So Waka is actually on YouTube. There's a video clip of Waka and another guy named Jay Farrow, and they both talking about P. Diddy.
Yeah.
And trying to warn someone not to go
there
to the Diddler's house.
Yeah.
So I know that he already knew how Diddy was, but he was trying hard to get me to go to this party. And I was like, bro, I'm not going inside, man. So I went to check it out for him. He went to one event across town in LA, and I went to the Diddler's house over in Holmby Hills, which is a section of West Hollywood. So I was in Holmby, and I went outside his house, but I was like, dude, I'm not going in there, man. I'm like,
so you didn't go in?
No, because I didn't want to end up with a gaping backside, So
did you see anyone come out?
I saw people trapped.
He's like, I saw people not coming out.
Yeah. The thing is if you get invited to a mansion party, you're kind of stuck. Because there's this whole thing where they'll take your cell phone, you sign an NDA.
You sign an NDA. Yeah.
In some cases.
Wow.
In some cases, what they'll do...
Hand your phone, hand your condoms, just...
Yeah.
Must be.
Sometimes it gets darker than that, too. Some weird stuff. They might prick your finger. You got to stamp it in blood. It's weird stuff over there. Because people just get into weird stuff, like when you reach a certain level of wealth.
Yeah.
So,
you have been in, a lot of movies, right?
Yeah.
One thing that is fucking cool, because it's so hard to get, but at the same time, you haven't gotten the first role, the first your break, a leading your first movie all by yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think one of the reason is because you didn't give in to all the kind of the Hollywood requirements?
By far. Yeah.
Really?
100%.
Did you have a contract like that, but they were like, hey, you gotta do this, you get the movie like that, but you said no?
It's more like grooming. It's like they kind of they'll send you certain auditions that will test your flexibility for your sexuality.
Really?
Literally.
Wow.
Literally.
Holy shit.
They'll send you auditions that...
why am I not on the US?
Bro, why would you...
Yeah, I mean...
I want to be tested for my sexuality, bro.
I mean...
I would sell straight away. No, I'm just kidding. It's a joke.
But that's no.
Yeah.
I would never do that, bro.
Yeah. But it comes with a cost. And so what they do is it's like a slow level grooming. They'll send you auditions for something that might be... They'll find out where your principles are. So if you're very religious, they'll send you something that's polar opposite. To see if you're willing to...
That sucks.
Yeah, to see if you're willing to...
destroy you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah,
Not destroy you, but test you and... peer pressure you into something that you're gonna be not comfortable about, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's more trying to see how keen you are to try to achieve what you feel like
Yeah.
is success. So they'll do that, or yeah, and so I think because of that, with my acting career for sure, by the time I got to LA, another thing as well is that I've done a lot of interviews and I've been I've met a lot of people, and very early on I was put onto a publicist, and I decided to do my own, like, pretty much trying to meet people or to do my own press.
Yeah.
Because the thing is when you go into entertainment from a position of like you're underneath someone, if you don't come in with leverage where you don't have a name to you, then you're way more vulnerable.
Yeah.
The industry actually likes you to be more vulnerable.
Because they can take a use as much as they want. They can do whatever they like, and then because once you're big, then now you have power, right? So you can do whatever you like.
So there's a guy named Louis B. Mayer. He's one of the first studio heads in Hollywood. He set up MGM Studios.
Yeah.
And he was notorious for being like a menace as well. Literally, I think he was like essentially like the first Weinstein, essentially, because he had a terrible reputation, Louis B. Mayer. But he essentially, his whole philosophy was that a star is something that's carefully crafted and like cut out and made. Like they make you, but if you
mold you for how they want to see you, like the character they want to see you in.
Exactly.
Man, that's like you sound crazy.
So if you start to do your own press, you start to build your own narrative.
Yeah.
They don't like it much because then they can't use you the way that they probably that they can intend on using you. So I intentionally contacted some PR people, some a magazine company from my hometown, a newspaper, just to be able to tell my own story, because I didn't want myself to be painted in any type of way as well too. Because when you, as an artist, that's the only thing you have is your own IP, your own intellectual property, if you are the product.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go in from a position of like, I need, and get taken advantage of.
Yeah.
So so I think a culmination of those things would have affected my ability to be a lead in a film.
So you're saying if you would have said yes by now, what would you have achieved?
By far, if I got into Diddy's house, I'll probably be on Netflix right now.
Oh yeah.
Literally.
But the thing is, like, how do these people have so much power as well? That's what I don't understand. Is like, why does one person named Diddy would have so much power where he would sleep with you, and the next day Netflix would be like, "Yep, here is your movie."
Yeah, because they essentially can use you as almost like a male escort. Like they can essentially pass you around because you're willing to do whatever it is that you feel will get you to the next stage. This is the reason why influencers became a big thing around like 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
There was that influencer bubble. The thing that Hollywood liked about it is that these people are willing to do anything to get seen.
They'll sell
They're running around on camera naked and go up and down. And they're like, oh, perfect. We can invite him to the mansion and find out what else is he willing to do.
So talking about selling souls.
Yeah.
It's not a literal meaning of you sign something and then your soul is fucking gone, and you know how they make it in the Hollywood movies, and now you're gonna have money, fame, and then the devil will come and collect it, right?
Yeah.
It's just you have to do shit that you don't want to do.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it's not literally selling your soul, but what it is actually, there's a figurative example people use of, if someone gives you a bunch of money, it's like, you sold your soul, you gave out, you gave into the cash, you've compromised yourself.
It's like a figure of speech.
Yeah, so there's a figurative way of it, but then there also is a select group of people multiple groups within entertainment that do actually believe in a dark deity. They do actually believe in like
the devil worshipping.
Yeah. Which for some people, if you really think about logically, it shouldn't be too surprising because America's super religious, very Christian.
Yeah.
From the advertisement.
Yeah.
Not by how the government's actually run, but just like from the advertisement. In God we trust. Everything's God, Jesus, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So there's an alternative polar opposite that believe in
like atheists.
That believe in Babylonian type things. So you have a mix of that. It's interesting as well. Like you'll go to an audition in LA And outside the audition, there'll be Scientology people that are waiting for you outside the auditioning office. Like, and if you don't get the role, they approach you and they go, "Hey, you want to be an actor? Like, you want to be seen?
Yeah, you gotta,
Oh, well, if you come to our temple, we do our own in-house productions as well. So, you know, if you
Tom
join
Cruise in the house. Yeah. Tom Cruise is big on Scientology.
That's a stage.
Yeah.
But literally. So that's why I mean there are subgroups that have their own belief system, and Scientology is very interesting. I mean, the guy who founded it, L. Ron Hubbard, he was mentored by a guy named Aleister Crowley. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
No.
He was a OTO member, which is like a secret society, but he was also a Freemason. So, and he had a very strong belief in Satanism and that type of thing. The only person I heard talk about him recently was Candace Owens. Mentioned something about Aleister Crowley, but the founder of Scientology, he was mentored by Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
And then he decided to start his own religion based off this theory of aliens seeding the human race and stuff. So you have that, then you have Kabbalists, then you have Jesuits that are there. So, and people don't realize that. You go into LA and you start finding out all these different groups that are actually operating in the background, and they try to recruit you to join and stuff. So
I'm scared to go to US now.
Bro,
I'll
10 minutes ago, you said you want to test your
I
sexuality.
don't want to be abducted, you know, by some
by some
Satans.
aliens.
Start the conversation with Dark. I apologize if I took you guys down a dark tunnel.
No, that
That
was
was
like
the plane be like, oh, you white boy, you're gonna be an actor.
Yeah.
Turns out it's like gay porn or something.
But essentially, all I'm saying is like there's more to the show than there is. There's more to the business than there is the show.
That's what Cat Williams says as well,
Yeah.
like in a lot of his podcasts. So you're telling me that everybody who made it has been through some shit like that?
Not everyone,
Not Ed Sheeran.
but a very high percentage. Because then, in order to control someone that has so much influence on the world stage, they need to be able to have leverage over you.
Yeah.
They can't have you be out and just speaking your mind and have influence, and they don't have a way to reel you back in.
So I guess Kanye West didn't do anything because that guy says whatever he wants, right? So
He said that himself on an interview. He said, "Well, he's like, I've never murdered anyone. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't have any nefarious things too much in the background, other than he's a man. He might be a sex addict, but other than that, he's a typical dude in that regard. But other than that, he doesn't have anything deep, dark, like drug dealing past where he got funded, to come into the industry. Because,
He's
But
just
the
an Alpha Street kid who found Jamie Foxx and got on.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
Really? Yeah.
That's the actual story.
Yeah. I've heard that too. But the thing is, like right now, with the cost of living and everything, and especially in US as well, and all the girls being on OnlyFans, like they get the subscription and everything right now.
How big is
well.
OnlyFans in US? Tell me.
Oh, it's
huge.
It's
Huge.
huge.
Everybody has it. It's like a
business
side
over
hustle.
there. It's there's a double-edged sword to OnlyFans though, that like once I would say a lot of ladies that get on it, they'll start off with the intention of like, oh, okay, I'm just going to be on it for a little bit. I'm going to put some money into a house that I want to buy, pay off my college tuition.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they get comfortable with making like quick cash.
Yeah.
And once they step away from it, it's hard for them to find something else that pays them just for sitting and making that type of content. And so they end up being stuck in the circle where they end up going back to it.
Okay.
They'll try to run away from it, but they end up doubling back. So it comes with a cost,
Everything comes with a cost.
And
right?
and if there's ever a social credit score thing that happens,
of course.
then that's
That's
thing's on your
true.
resume, and that's something they're not
So
considering.
like, what'd you do between 2021 and 2022? OnlyFans. And then
Imagine
you're not
dating a
hired.
girl and you'll have to look at her social
So
score.
you gotta look her up just to make sure she wasn't on it,
I wish I was a virgin, eh?
Yeah.
so like I was saying, fast cash comes with slow problems.
Yeah.
It's things you don't think about in the long run of
Yeah.
going, okay, well, when I try to transition out of this, how do I explain I wasn't working for 4 years?
Exactly.
Fucking
That's
hell.
what comfort zone does to you, especially money like that. I think with the OnlyFans as well, like people step into it and they're like, oh, I'm just going to take photos of my hands.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then-
yeah. They'll
and
start
then,
with
like,
that,
they're
or
like, yeah,
they'll
I'm gonna
say,
be- I'm
I'm
go-
gonna do food, and I'm like,
Yeah,
really?
yeah,
I'm gonna be appropriate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then like people subscribe to them, right?
And the
And then people
demand-
unsubscribe because there's
Yeah.
nothing new, and then
Yeah.
they have to take that extra step to become a bit, more popular and more explicit. And then
Yeah.
and then next thing you see is like Pornhub.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
And it's free then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It's crazy, man.
The thing is, just like
Insane.
I don't want to ever have someone feel bad for going that route, but it does. Everything comes with a cost. You like technically, in theory, you can do whatever you want, but doing whatever you want doesn't absolve you of consequence. There is a consequence to doing whatever you want.
100%. Yeah.
You know?
That's like everyone's like, okay, freedom
That's a
of
good way of
speech.
explaining it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta get that. You have consequence with that coming as well, right?
Yeah.
You speaking right now, someone might be watching and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, yo, this guy knows too much." He was outside the P Diddy,
Yeah.
and but it's just I feel like we would reach a time where there will be so many girls on OnlyFans that the market would just drop, and then becoming a doctor or a lawyer would pay you better, and then everyone switches back to being normal. Like it's like a loop.
I think it will happen probably more so once, because I think we're eventually probably going to head to a social credit thing, even though people, we think about, it being a democratic place, but you can see most of the world is consolidating in
Yeah.
some type of regard regarding our online activity.
Yeah.
Mm.
So if it moves to that, then it'll move probably back to people being a little bit more hesitant about it. It's interesting though, because I know some girls on OnlyFans as well too. Like I've got friends that will be like, "Hey, this is you right here," and they hate looking at themselves on it.
Shit.
But it's like, but that's what you do.
It's money.
So
Yeah.
it's like, how could you be like? So it's like there's a subconscious feeling that they know that like they feel like what they're doing is somewhat not normally acceptable.
That's
Yeah.
so sad.
You
That
know?
you're saying that. It's so bad.
Yeah.
No, but like they know what they're doing wrong, but
Yeah.
instead of trying to make a living the proper way and like study and find a profession or even become like a proper actor,
Yeah.
they rather find that easy path.
Yeah.
People just becoming lazy, man. Like people lost motivation to actually strive towards achieving something bigger.
The thing is, like, for
Yeah.
girls, sometimes it's really difficult to climb up the corporate ladder as well. And at the end of the day, it's men who is paying the money for the OnlyFans.
Just
you
get
know?
this guy to date this
So-
girl.
Yeah.
He'll pay
Like,
for everything.
you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like it's coming back. It comes back to men as well. All this money that is involved in the OnlyFans, who's paying for it? Mostly it's men. But at the same time, you can't blame men for something that's available. You can't blame the ladies for something that's available. But I just feel like 10 years ago, if you had a picture that was slightly like it should show a little bit of your part,
Yeah.
your family would be like, "Oh my god, don't put that online." And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
you just can find fucking everybody naked online. It's like
Yeah.
it's a different time. I don't know it's good or bad,
Yeah.
but
No.
so what did you have to do to get those auditions and movies?
Well,
Like we were just saying, like you've been in a lot of movies.
It's like,
the initial auditions is just sitting there. I'm not saying that it went anywhere else, but I'm just, the start of the start of
naked.
No,
I got you.
only for the ladies.
Only
This
for the
guy's been
ladies.
waiting for it. He's
Only for the
like,
ladies.
just tell me, just give me that drill. Give it to me.
Only
He's like
for-
strips naked.
Exactly.
You got it.
Exactly. Lonely fans. Only for the ladies.
For the ladies. for the
Ladies on
ladies.
Lonely Fans.
But you didn't do anything. Like, it
no,
wasn't
no,
like
no.
that. Yeah.
Like I got started just like doing auditions initially, but pretty much I went from modeling to commercial modeling, which is you're getting booked on TV commercials essentially. So from TV commercials, they see that you have some comfortability in front of the camera, and then you transition from that to going, okay, maybe I should do TV, film and
Yeah.
TV, that type of thing. So the best way, say for someone that wants to start out being an actor or whatever, I would tell them the best thing to do is there's a lot of TV productions that do background work. And it's interesting because background work is somewhat frowned upon. They're just like, oh, you're an extra, you're in the background, you're kind of roaming. But when you're in that environment, you get used to hearing all the terminology that they're giving out,
Yeah.
like the terms like, okay, and rolling sound.
Yeah.
Okay, sound is rolling, we gotta be quiet. Okay, sound speed, and make sure the soundy has like, and then they go, and action.
Yeah.
So you get used to all those terms, that type of thing. So it's a good environment to start off as background to learn about all those things. And then I would tell someone to go into maybe like a casting, there's plenty of casting breakdown websites. That's what they call them, breakdown sites.
Yeah.
So there's Star Now, there's a few of them. If you go on there, there's always someone doing a short film. Start off with short films, get footage here and there, and from there, take that footage to an agency.
Yeah.
You know, and an agent will generally, you know, they'll be able to, you have something that they can work with because if you did like a little 5-minute short, or if you can just film your own short films or something, or do some YouTube skits and put it up on YouTube, but you have something that they can sell you with. You got to give them the sauce.
So like when you got like the
They bottle you.
Ash versus Evil Dead,
Yeah.
right? That's a huge, you know, like a huge thing to be a part of, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that, like, how is the
process
for that? Like you just show up, you do the audition.
Yeah, you show up, you do the audition. Different productions are different. So sometimes you do an audition and they'll be like, "You got it." Sometimes you'll do 3 auditions. You might send in a tape, or you may, after sending a tape, then you do an in-person audition.
Yeah.
Then you do a 3rd audition in front of all the producers. So the Shannara Chronicles, that was pretty much the process with that.
You did Shannara as well?
Yeah, I did Shannara. Yeah.
That's cool, man. Dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, and that one I had to do in front of the show's producers and stuff. And sometimes if you're going for a lead role in a TV series, then your audition will go to the entire like production staff. So like the producers and the showrunner and everyone will look at like your audition, and they'll do a group decision on whether they should book you or not. You know, and sometimes the booking is, it's interesting with auditions. Sometimes you don't get parts for minute things. It may be that like the entire cast, say like they're booking a show that has a bunch of chocolate people, like super dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Because you're a little bit lighter in tone, they might not book you because you won't match cohesively with the rest of the cast. Or if you're super tall, like in my case, that's normally my problem, is I'm 6'3".
Yeah.
I'm a super tall
Imagine that
dude.
being a problem.
Yeah.
Usually 6'3" is a good thing.
Yeah. Well, it's good for lead roles, for leading roles in a film. If you're the main guy in the film, then that makes sense or something.
Yeah, you dominate, which is good.
Yeah.
But if you're not a lead role,
But if
it'll
you're-
take away the focus.
If you're a guest star or you're just, you know, joining the ensemble of the cast and everyone else is 5'7" and you're 6'3", sequentially, they won't book you because you won't look right all standing together with the entire cast.
And the camera operator will
So it's
have a problem.
so it's something minute as that. And you can think, oh my God, I did a bad audition. And it's not your audition. It's literally little teeny, like, you know, semantics and around that. So
And I think sometimes you come for an audition, to an audition, and, you know, to audition for a certain role.
Yeah.
And they actually pick you for another role.
Yeah, no, that's happened to me as well.
Too. Yeah. So they're like, oh, we want to audition you for this. And then they call you back and they're like, oh, can you just read this? And they'll give you like a cold read, right?
Yeah.
And your cold read is like, oh, okay, cool. And you're like, this is not the role that I was planning on, you know, acting. And then bang, they give you something else. That's cool too. You know?
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, man.
I'll just move you a little bit back. So
I'm literally not moving, guy.
No, you're fine. It's just that you're not hearing where your voice goes in off.
See, that's why I need my earphones.
Yeah, now you're good. Now you're good.
See?
Yeah,
It's too
That's
smooth,
good.
man.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good because I can hear the the difference. But
Let's
holy
talk
shit!
about-
But fucking Hollywood,
Yeah.
US,
Yeah. USA.
Bollywood,
Yes.
India. What are you doing in New Zealand?
Yes.
New Zealand.
Question.
Wow, interesting story. So I was dating a girl in Aussie. Literally, I left the U.S.
What?
I'll try to summarize. Look, I'll try to summarize this.
I was
Maybe-
dating a girl in
I would think
Aussie, and I'm in New Zealand.
Let me. All right, I'll try to summarize it. I'll make this quick as possible. I was on MySpace in 2007,
Yeah.
and I made friends with people in Australia. Ended up dating a girl virtually through MySpace, and decided to back up from the U.S. and move. Like I was modeling, but I was just like, I just wanted to get out. Virginia is one of those places, like if you are trying to make it in music, film, or anything, you eventually got to leave. Like, so when Pharrell started in Virginia Beach, he eventually ended up in New York
Yeah.
for a bit.
Yeah.
So you always have to step away. And so the internet was new at that time, and I was just on MySpace. It was the one of the first social media sites. I was chatting with Tila Tequila and a couple other people. And I just decided, I was like, bro, I said, let me just get my passport and just go to Australia because I'm making friends for some reason. A bunch of Australians are adding me. And so, so I ended up in Aussie and I was dating a girl and I couldn't find a way to like stay and extend my visa. She was actually Iranian. I was dating an Iranian girl.
And you're into Iranians, really? His wife is Iranian as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was my first time.
Yeah.
And that was my first time meeting Iranian people.
Really?
Yeah, and meeting all types of cultures. When I got to Aussie, I was in Sydney initially. Sydney's full of Greeks and Lebanese people and
Yeah.
whole diverse range of people that I had never been exposed to.
More Arabs.
Yeah, and Arabs as well. So I ended up moving to Perth, and in Perth I was meeting
There's heaps of
Emiratis. I was meeting Macedonians.
Yeah.
It was the first place I met Kiwis.
Yeah.
I met a lot of Kiwis in Perth.
Yeah.
But I was dating a girl. She was Iranian, and I tried to extend my visa. I did. It was my first time traveling. I'm an African dude, like African American dude, chocolate dude, black dude. So I never, I'd never been overseas before. Like, if you see any, they're normally for basketball or something like that, or some sort of sports thing. If you see an African American like abroad,
In New Zealand or like
just
in general?
in general, like
I do a lot, bro.
Yeah.
Really, like in New
You
Zealand
actually
a
meet
lot.
quite
Yeah.
a few.
No,
Yeah.
actually, mainly French.
yeah,
French or like Spanish.
Yeah, there'll be French Africans and things like those.
Okay, I agree. So you won't get ones from like the US much, but
Yeah.
like
No.
France
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
other
Yeah,
countries.
Yeah, other
yes,
other
definitely.
parts,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But if
Rarely
you,
you
see,
meet an American, you know,
American,
that's
yeah.
like milk chocolate, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
yeah,
Ex-
milk chocolate.
but still-
I got you.
Why are you here still?
yeah. So to summarize why I'm here, it was initially because I couldn't find a way to extend my visa in Aussie, and I had a girl, and we were planning on just moving here together. So I was like, oh, why don't I just go to New Zealand? And so I came to New Zealand. She stayed in Aussie because she had just got started her like first like years in like uni
Yeah.
and stuff, and she preferred to stay in Aussie, and it made more sense. So so I ended up in New Zealand. Initially because of the relationship thing, and then the third day I was here, someone approached me from Red 11, a
I was
modeling
about to say you probably model for
modeling agency. They approached me and and so from that I ended up meeting an actress named Keisha Castle Hughes. She's a New Zealand actress.
Oh, nice.
I was in The Well Writer and got inspired hearing her story, signed to Red 11, and they started putting me forward for commercial work and film and TV. So that's a bit of a gist of how things went. Yeah.
New Zealand has few. Is it good to grow here, like in New Zealand, as like an actor? Is it? Is it opportunities?
I think it's opportunities everywhere. But New Zealand does get a lot of international productions. They do get a lot of American productions, so it's a good thing.
The Boys.
I think we used to get more.
Yeah.
We used to get more.
Yeah.
And something happened politically. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's normally around tax incentives,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it happened after
rebates, and that sort
happened
of
after
thing.
Spartacus.
Yeah.
And it happened.
Yeah, it
just
was-
before Avatar.
It was after The Hobbit. It was they had a Hobbit law that got passed, and
I
it
think it's just ridiculous. Like, I don't
Well,
know. I
New Zealand's still a conservative country, so the government doesn't think about the arts in a way that it can benefit the government's
100%.
Yeah.
the government's economy. But Australia understands that because they're bigger.
The more international.
Yeah,
I
they're
feel
more
like,
international. They got more of a an appreciation for global appeal, Americana.
Yeah.
You know, so whereas here it's like, oh, we're just little birds, Kiwi birds. So
Yeah.
they don't see, they just didn't see the investment worth putting into it. But it's changing. There was a lot of productions coming here before COVID, and then COVID happened, and it sent some productions back. But apparently the work's picking back up here with
I've
a lot of
heard,
productions
yeah.
coming.
Oh, you got his name Tony Starr, I think.
Anthony Starr.
Anthony Starr.
Yeah, so-
Tony Starr. Wow.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
He
Anthony.
he
does go by Tony,
He goes by
right?
Tony. Yeah, he goes by Tony
Because
as
I've heard
well.
him mainly like people call him Tony Starr.
Yeah,
Yeah. So Anthony Starr, like the Homelander.
Tony Starr.
Yeah.
He's been huge, like since and then the Butcher.
Yeah.
Now that guy, I 100% don't know his name.
Yeah,
But I know he's from-
that's Carl Urban.
Yeah, Carl.
So me, Carl, and Anthony, we have the same acting coach. So
Really?
we
Oh,
all
nice.
studied with a guy named Michael Ciccinti. He's an American acting coach that's based here in New Zealand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
cool.
I think he was just in the film Megan. You know, with the AI robot,
Yeah,
it was a
yeah,
girl
yeah.
AI murdering thing. Yeah. So my acting coach was in there, but he coached. I studied with him. He initially was coaching with Anthony and with Carl Urban, and so those two Kiwi guys, they blew up from doing
The Boys,
doing multiple
yeah.
productions. Technically, they've been working for a while, but The Boys
The Boys was
recently
like, yeah.
kind of catapulted him.
Anthony was kind of famous before. Like I've watched some of his
Yeah.
horror movies, but
Yeah.
recently after The Boys, like oh my god, they took off.
Yeah,
they took off. But so we'll be waiting still for you. So you're in the right place right now. Then.
Yeah.
So you got the
yeah.
coach right.
Yeah.
You got the Is that you got anything coming up soon?
Yeah, I've got a few productions coming up. There's one with Luke Spark. The next film that I'm shooting on is called Fight for Your Life with Luke Spark, and it has Jeremy Piven. So Jeremy Piven's the lead actor in that film.
Oh, nice.
And that's shooting in Aussie on the Gold Coast.
Nice.
So that's my next project. But also my production company just started with my business partner, Ashwa Han.
Nice.
Shouts to Ashwa. He's a Australian, South Korean director. Made a huge name for himself in Asia. He left Sydney and just started doing film and commercial work and music video work all throughout Asia. Built up his reputation. So now he's between South Korea, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Dubai.
Wow.
He kind of goes around everywhere. And we worked together on a passion project for him. And we just decided, we were like, bro, let's just do a production company.
Yeah.
Because the film industry is global. So it's not limited just to the American market the way it used to be.
Yeah.
And also with becoming a star and that whole framing, it's good to be admired for your work.
True.
But as I was saying earlier, it can come with a cost, that there's people, because the industry has always been controlled by particular groups. It was founded by 5 Jewish men that founded all the original studios in Hollywood. And a lot of money was coming in through Italian mafia, Jewish mafia with Meyer Lansky. So there's always been this thing where they had the Scarlets, the Hollywood Scarlets, these ladies, with Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
And then they had their, lead guys, or like James Dean and, they're classic actors, but they wanted to have leverage over them. So it's always had this sort of creepy kind of like, we need to monitor our stars type thing.
Yeah.
And today, what people are finding out, even with this P. Diddy case, as far as like the supposed wealth that he had, because he was a billionaire, they're finding out that billionaire status was tied to assets, but those assets weren't in his name. So he doesn't have $1 billion in liquid cash.
100%. Like Jonathan
it's in assets, but the assets also wasn't in his name.
Yeah.
So essentially, he was being controlled on
Like a
all
puppet. Yeah.
different levels. Where it was essentially his label heads, the head of Universal Music Group, that would be Lucian Grange or Clive Davis. They had leverage over him, and they allowed him to kind of go out and be somewhat of a menace. And
Right now, he's in one of the worst jails in New York.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I think that's the one
jail,
Epstein.
yeah, that's the one that. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but what I know is, in that jail there was 2 suicides, like 4 to 5 murders, in the past. It's like one of the worst conditions that someone can live. And
And one big suicide where the cameras went off. And,
the camera is also
guards
like
went-
yes, yeah.
We all
nobody
know what
knows.
that one is.
And the list is still not out. You know?
Yeah,
So
exactly. What list?
you
What
reckon
list?
he's gonna stay alive?
I think he will.
He's got money.
I think he.
So did Epstein.
No, yeah. I think he will, because I feel like they need a distraction for all the things that are going on in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of times traditional media has shareholders, and their shareholders are beholden a lot of times to government as well. Government tells them what they're allowed to say or
do.
disclose to the
Yeah,
public.
Yeah.
So with so much stuff that's happening in these recent years, they're trying to distract away from the war that's currently going on in different parts of the world and multiple things across the board. So it serves a purpose.
Distracts people from the reality.
From the reality.
From something bigger, global.
Yeah.
Yeah, it serves a purpose. So I think they have no qualms about taking him down, unfortunately, because he's African. They made an example of R. Kelly, but
Yeah.
R. Kelly and P. Diddy were both mentored by Clive Davis. And he had 3 active Me Too cases, and it just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And he's their overseer, but he belongs to particular groups, and so he's protected.
Yeah.
But this is like an allowed takedown,
Yeah.
within the industry. So so I think he'll be fine.
Have you seen that video with Justin Bieber? Like he's like 9 or 10, and he's in P Diddy's house, and then he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go have some fun and do some old boy shit, something like that, like adult boy shit."
Yeah, Diddy's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do some grown man shit."
Yeah, grown man shit. Yeah.
And
then,
are you having a night together? We got a few days.
And you're just like you would be like, "Hey, they're gonna be having like fucking fun, like maybe like it's a fucking 10-year-old, you know."
That's how Justin Bieber went from 10 to 18 within a day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then like 2 years after, there was a video that he's in the studio and P Diddy pulls up and he's like, "Hey, you don't call me." He's like, "I don't have your number."
Oh no, I don't have your number.
But like just thinking about how sad that is, just because from our point of perspective, right? We're like, oh my god, young guy, 200 million fucking worth of dollars by the time he's 18. This type of shit that the family and he himself has like been through. I mean, the family's allowed it, but still.
That's the danger when you have a child entertainer brought into entertainment. Sometimes the parents are the ones that are
actually push it.
The parents are the ones that are selling them off, essentially. You know, we call them industry parents.
They give them an opportunity, they say. But in reality, it's like,
and sometimes the parents are living vicariously through the kid. Like they want to be successful as a kid. Michael Jackson had the same problem. Joe Jackson, his father, was
strict.
He was a part of an R&B group, a failed R&B group. They're called the Starlights. And they failed. And so he was getting into professional boxing, and by accident he heard one of his kids singing. I don't know if it was Tito or Jermaine, but one of his kids was singing, and he came up with this idea of, okay, now I'm going to essentially prostitute my kids into the industry. And so that's essentially what happened is he chauffeured the kids into the industry. But when they're getting all this cash up front and the dad is, he wanted to be the star.
He's stacking it.
He's happy to take the cash and leave the kids with all these older men, and you have no idea what's going on with any of these kids. So Bieber is a product of that, because that's sort of what the formula essentially, I think, since Michael has been passed down, that like if you're young and you're coming to entertainment, hey, do it like Michael. This is the route, This is what everybody does. Well, how do you think Michael got so big? Come on, So it's dark, and I think a lot of the world is kind of waking up to that since.
And just remember, imagine how hard it is for the ladies.
Yeah,
like that's another thing too. Yeah. But something you said is that the industry like Hollywood is run by Jews, and you have strong political stance about the situation right now between Israel and Palestine, right? Do you think that that would have some sort of effect on your career?
It could potentially 100% for sure. Probably so.
He's like, I'm on your podcast. I could have been on Joe Rogan's if I wasn't.
No.
You're pretty brave, like you're pretty brave by like just. It's good.
See,
I respect that. I respect that.
See, the discussion shouldn't even have to be like that.
Exactly.
That like, oh, you're being brave because you might, somebody might, It's like they're humans. Everybody poops. Like we, the thing is that if we have to speak in that context, that kind of reveals that there's an obvious issue that everyone's kind of like circumventing to just be like, So with me talking about, as far as the film industry goes, that's just who established it. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
And to be in denial about that, where there's even some people from the Jewish community that will want to avoid that topic of like, oh, you control the media. And it's like, well, any person that studies Hollywood, especially if you're going to be an actor, you need to know show business.
Yeah.
So part of knowing that is understanding the history of it. So it's like to try to avoid saying that is like disingenuous. It's like it is what it is, So as far as that and Israel Palestine, that totally can affect my career. But we're watching people being killed in 4K. Like I don't know. It's like when we were hearing about Ukraine and Russia, it was more of like, it was lip service. Like we were hearing that they're, obviously they moved in on the country, but we didn't see any brutality in 4K.
The problem is I feel like because both Ukraine and Russia are powerful enough to fight each other. So it's like a fair game that you're watching.
It's two militaries. It's not a militia.
Yeah, but it's like
and an army.
The people that are just being, for me, I'm not a political person at all. The only thing that I support are the people who don't have any defense, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you guys have a thing. you are right in whatever you want to think, and the other person is right in whatever they want to think.
Yeah.
Go fight it out yourself. Get a ring, do a boxing match. Don't involve the people in.
Yeah.
And when innocent children are just involved, right?
Yeah.
That's where everything goes wrong.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what we're all. That's what we're all.
What happened in
seeing,
Ukraine is like they send everyone away.
Yeah.
In Russia, they send everyone away.
They send everyone away.
We'll figure it out.
There were a lot of
ourselves,
Ukrainian ladies that were moving to Dubai, and they were moving to the States, and their families were moving. The men were staying.
Yeah.
So they gave ample time to like, okay, let's clear this up. But with obviously with Gaza, it's a small condensed area, and so we're watching people being, families being blown up in 4K. Sometimes people allude to just speaking about women and children, but it's men, women, and children. It's complete families that are being affected, and sometimes the men get disregarded in that framing. It's interesting because I was saying to someone with war, what people don't realize is the men are the first group of people they try to get rid of. They try to get rid of the men because the men is the first line of defense.
Yeah.
But because we live in Western safety, we kind of can dilute the importance of men. Men are important until not important sometimes until there's a need for defense. Even the worst angry lady or feminist or whatever, she wants a male police officer to show up if there's a male offended going on, like happening there, because we do serve a purpose. And I think because we have supposed first world advantages, that we've lost sense of the purpose of what both genders serve, for the family is that you're there to protect your children. It takes a male and a female to birth a kid. Doesn't matter what, sexual identity you want to claim. It was still a mom and dad that gave you life. So we both serve a purpose, but of course division is easy to keep people, like it's easy for a government to control a population that's divided. So like women in the workforce, when we were talking about OnlyFans, for example, just a second ago, like the only reason why they moved women into the workforce was because Nicholas Rockefeller, he figured out that half of the American population wasn't being taxed. So he started paying for financial advertisements regarding women smoking cigarettes and women being in the workplace. And so now when you're talking about women are finding it hard to move up the corporate ladder, it's prior to that, women would be in a family environment where they would be able to focus more on the kids. Everything was more family oriented. It was more community based, more the individual based.
The good old days.
A quick note: if Serena is out of the podcast, it has got nothing to do with sexism or feminism. She doesn't want to be in it. So she likes to be helping me out. But she hates being in front of the camera. And I've told her so many times that will be really cool. So so don't blame me. This is not a testosterone thing. No, but I get what you're saying. It's really not a topic that I feel like if you say whatever that you talk about, some way or the other, you're not gonna be right. Back
to the Gaza thing you were asking me about, because I kind of veered a little bit, but as far as speaking about what's happened in Palestine and that affecting my acting career, I'm less concerned with that because we're at a point where in the world where if we don't speak on that matter, then we could lose an entire group of people just off the support that's coming from all Western governments, that they've kind of allowed Israel to act with impunity. And yes, I know the Jewish community do have huge influence in entertainment in Hollywood, but there's no amount of money at this point that would make me compromise losing my humanity for the sake of me hoping to get on a Netflix show. I don't even find the fame at this point even important or relevant at all anymore. I think it's been diluted tremendously. There's more people like their favorite YouTuber now, or more so than your favorite celebrity. Like that whole notion of a star. For me, it's gone. Mainly because of social media. It's gone. The mask has been lifted off everyone. Where people are so accessible now that there's less of an illusion behind it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the 90s or in the 80s, you would look at a star with sort of like reverence because they come out occasionally, they talk occasionally.
Because it would be so hard to meet them as well. Now you just see it on any dude's podcast. Every second Kevin Hart is on one of the podcasts, right?
Yeah.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So, but and especially looking at P. Diddy's case, he was supposedly a billionaire. None of that money is seeming to add up. It's not mathing.
Yeah.
So for me to be quiet and just, in order to be an actor, you have to study humanity. Like you have to understand human behavior and how human empathy, how people feel. Yeah. For me to disregard that and start talking about like, hey, well, I've got a new liquor line that, we got a new alcohol beverage, that's available. It's fake.
It's hard.
It's fake.
Well, you're an actor.
And with social media, fans can give you feedback in real time.
Yeah.
So if you're fake, they'll spot it.
You lose your individuality.
Yeah. And Hollywood's not liking that. They're not liking social media battling with traditional media. Because they used to be able to make movies with impunity and didn't have to hear fan feedback.
Yeah.
Now they're hearing fan feedback and they're like,
people don't show up anyway.
Toxic Marvel fans or something. It's like, that's the only industry where the customer is wrong, apparently, in entertainment.
Okay, quick question for you.
Sure.
Trump, Harris, which one?
Neither.
Oh, finally, Trump or the other lady,
the
vice president,
Kamala
Harris,
the koala Harris.
None of them.
Neither. I would go for Jill Stein and Butch Mayer.
Yeah. But now you have to choose, right?
Between those two?
Yeah, because especially you're American, you have the right to vote. So for an American. Not just any American, an actor, American, African American as well. So
if you were to force me to pick between the two, I would, and I didn't have a third choice, it would be probably Trump. It would probably be Trump. Only because he's so belligerently outspoken and he's had multiple assassination attempts on his life, which is a clear indication he's doing something that's upsetting.
You don't think that was a setup? Like you think it actually happened?
Well, yeah. There happened to be one shooter on a roof.
Yeah, exactly.
That all the other roofs were covered, and there just happened to be one roof that wasn't covered, and it just happened to have a sniper on it. That whole layout made zero sense as far as them. They covered that entire perimeter and left one roof open
uncovered.
And I don't think that would be something that he would design.
I just don't think they thought about it. I feel like it wasn't planned. It was real.
Yeah, it was real.
Because
of
there
course.
were people who got shot and died, but they just didn't think about something like that happening at that moment, and they were like, "Oh yeah, there's a dude up there," because people actually told the police. And then no one actually, because no one believed them. They're like, "Oh, it must be some dude upstairs," and then tuck, they hear the sound, and then they exactly know where he was because he was reported as well, and then gets. But the only reason, I have this discussion a lot.
Yeah.
And it actually matters to the world because when you choose Donald Trump or Harris, it actually affects the entire world as well. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like choosing a president for the globe.
Yeah.
The only reason that I would, if I could vote, I would vote Trump.
Yeah.
And the only reason is during his time, there was no war.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And he was really trying his best to put certain countries that are causing this war, which is not Israel or Palestine, the countries that are funding this. There are countries who they look like they're in support. And they're sending billions of dollars to,
Which countries?
Iran, 100%.
What's wrong with Iran?
The funding, the $8 to $9 billion, the funding. So
you don't like Iran?
Nobody, if you're Iranian, you don't like Iran.
Really?
Yeah, you don't like the government.
I know plenty of Iranians that like Iran. I like Iran.
I like Iran as a country 100%. I love my country. I don't like the government. Nobody likes the government.
That's a contentious topic because you would have to be willing to discuss the history of Iran. And me, as an African, I viewed it from an outside lens, and I can see everything that went wrong with Iran. And it wasn't necessarily the fact that the Ayatollah came into power. They've had Western intervention since 1908. With this British businessman, William Knox, who came and discovered oil, wasn't allowing them to check the books for the oil concessions he was getting.
Yeah.
So he made himself and Winston Churchill extremely wealthy to the point where they refer to Iran as fairyland.
Yeah, I know.
So, and when the Reza Pahlavi, he tried to nationalize.
Reza Pahlavi used to be the kind of like a king who was before and during my mom's time. He would kind of be like the president, but kind of like the ruler, like how you have the queen and king, and the reason that they kind of removed him, that's what the Iranian people say, is he was getting too big for the Middle East. Yeah. He was trying to sell oil at a much higher price, and they said, let's get rid of the guy. Yeah. But there was a time where Iranians could go to any country without like the visa, the passport was like fucking strong. Yeah. Not a lot of religious conflicts going on, but that's the thing. Iranians are always proud of history, not the present. Yeah, and that's something that I don't like, because there are a lot of good people there who are not religious, who don't care. The only thing is that they just want to have the money that the country produces in their own pocket. Yeah, they don't care about what's happening outside. For once, we don't have electricity like on a daily basis, around 2 to 3 hours. But we give electricity to the neighboring countries. Does that make sense? We sold seas. We have sold soil. The country is being sold out. But the people are poor.
I think it's more complicated, though. Just when we were talking about Reza, you're talking about the last Shah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. His father, he tried to nationalize their oil.
Yeah.
And then Britain came in and claimed that they were going to be supporting the Nazi party.
Yeah.
And took over the government.
Yeah.
Like that was another time they intervened.
Yeah.
Then Mossadegh was getting in power. He got voted in fairly, and they had him removed, and put Reza Shah in power. Yeah. So then that was revealed to be an MI6 and CIA operation in that 1953 coup.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to explain to you is that when there's a division in Iran regarding them liking the government, people have to reflect on how much Western intervention has destabilized the country as a whole.
Yeah.
Iran has also been Islamic since 1500 AD. And it's being framed that Iran only became this Islamic republic in 1979, which is not actually true.
Yeah.
There were some people that were happy to, women, for example, were happy to wear the hijab when Reza Shah was in power, but he actually banned them wearing the hijab, and it upset a group of people that still wanted to wear their religious covering. He banned it, telling them they needed to take it off. They need to be more Western. So that's why you had this polar opposite reaction once the Islamic Republic came back into power in 1979.
But the problem recently is way deeper than that. People don't have money. And you know what I'm saying?
But they've had sanctions on Iran since 1979.
Yeah.
So, and that's still Western intervention. So in order to, people view the government with like a disgust, but that's also very prevalent in Iran because there's a lot of division in general over basic things.
Yeah.
There's gossip, division, tall poppy, things that we talked about off camera. So so the country is very socially fractured. It's too much yapping about each other than so working together. But I always go back to the source of the problem. If you want to resolve where the current state is, you have to backtrack. Since Iranians love history, you have to go back to where the country started to get destabilized, and that was with British influence.
Every country almost got destabilized because of like a foreigner influence.
Yeah,
know,
well,
like,
there was no Middle East.
Western society.
Before World War I, there was no Middle East. The Middle East was made because of the Pike-Seco
So we will for sure do a topic
Eastern
on
Europe,
this.
same thing.
Because this would go for about an hour because
well,
it's cool. But what I was trying to say is if I had to vote, and the only reason is just that 4 years, the only president I think so, there was no war during Trump time, you know? He was trying to have a Middle East kind of like a peace treaty as well. He was the first president who went to North Korea. And money-wise, US was in a better place. Now, when US gets affected, we all get affected as well, you know? So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe once it comes in, like I don't support his controversial things on abortion. I don't support a lot of things, right? But the only thing, if you had to choose, I'm like, the person who's talking she fucked up the country as well. You know.
Yeah, well,
right
yeah,
now,
the country is in the current state
it
that's
is really bad,
with,
right?
with that administration she was a
so
part of.
how are you promising to change it when that was your administration who did it?
Yeah.
You know. So at the same time, when Trump comes over there during debate, it's like they eat cats and dogs. I'm like, bro, it's so hard to support you. You're like, you know, you throw everything that I have. I'm trying to convince myself that you can do better. Off, you know, like. So, point being, the moment you said none of them, I'm like, finally, you know, somebody said it. Yeah, none of them. Like,
genuinely none.
Bring
of them.
Elon Musk, you know, like.
No.
I believe he's the biggest villain.
Yeah, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, 100%.
He'll talk about free speech, but then he'll ban Twitter, or he'll ban particular accounts for certain governments.
Bring Taylor Swift.
No, thanks. She's yeah.
I'm never giving my opinion out again. She's shaking her head.
No, Taylor Swift her life isn't stable enough for me to trust her making government decisions. If she was married and had a family, a little bit different. She's a rogue one, and we don't need a rogue one.
But let me just ask you a question, because we'll be closing soon. So a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah.
So I read, I don't know if you want to get into it, but I read that there was a something that happened during your modeling career that it was racially provoked, right?
Yeah.
So I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
One is, how much racism has effect on your career in modeling and in Hollywood?
Yeah.
Was it helpful because you were kind of like getting certain roles that was already there for you?
Yeah.
Or no, it was just the opposite? And second, is there racism in New Zealand?
So, what has racism like affected me getting roles, or how has it affected me? Like, what was the
in both ways? Like, has it had a
Yeah.
positive effect where people would you would get roles that are just like, you know, they have that token guy for just made for that, and they're like, okay, that's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Or was it more like it was uncomfortable, but like you felt judged just because of your color in Hollywood?
Well, it's more of in general in entertainment. I think I don't mind being stereotyped at all. I don't mind it, because if you're an actor, you're willing to play in a sandbox of anything. You're happy to get a gig. It's an opportunity to play and do what you love. Actors are storytellers.
Yeah.
So if we can play dress up and be a storyteller, we're like, all right, cool, whatever. I'll be a drug dealer for today, whatever it is, what it is. But in terms of like, I think there's sometimes they don't know necessarily what to do with a mixed race, like looking African. They don't really know where to place me.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel had the same problem, like when he got into film and TV, so much so that he ended up directing his own short film called Multifacial, because it was about him being mixed race and them not knowing where to place him. And the whole short film is him showing multiple sides of his acting.
Yeah.
So it's him the whole short film is him just trying to get gigs. So he's doing an audition as a gangster. He's doing an audition as like a business
as
business
film.
person.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's playing different types.
Yeah, he's showing himself in that way.
And it's showing his acting.
That's really cool. That's smart.
Yeah, but he had to do his own thing. He made that short film because people were seeing him and he wasn't dark enough to be considered like, okay, well, we know racially where to place you, you know, or he wasn't like fair-skinned enough to play someone that is European or whatever.
He couldn't. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so that's the only effect that I feel like I really had regarding race relations, is them not necessarily
placing you,
knowing where to place me.
Yeah.
And I also I've stepped away from like actually using race in general in my linguistics when I approach people. Like, I don't call myself a black dude unless I'm joking. I'll use it as a joke. Yeah. But it's more of me understanding. I figured out where the origins of race according to color came from, and it was meant to justify the enslavement of Africans during the transatlantic slave trade. They needed to dehumanize certain groups. Yeah. So it was a German anthropologist named Johann Friedrich Blumenbach. Very long name. Yeah. I don't expect anyone to remember that. But Mr. Blumenbach, if you type in race on Google. But he came up with the theory of 5 races on Earth according to color. And white was the most beautiful. He was German, so it benefited him to say that. And then African was like at the bottom of the totem pole. But it was all to justify because there was a papal, Roman Catholic papal that got revealed, and it became public, and the people were upset about them being involved in the slave trade. So they need to justify it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, I'll try to summarize that up. And there was another guy named Augustus Schulzer, and he came up with the word Semitic. So a lot of this has to do with Germany and them classifying certain groups to be above or below certain people. So when I address people now, I don't ever call somebody, I don't go, hey, that white guy. It's so dismissive just to paint somebody that way.
Yeah.
And when someone speaks about me in that way, I feel like crap. They're, oh, that black dude over there. I'm like, I'm a human.
I'm
like,
human. Yeah.
I'm not an object or a color.
True.
So now if I meet somebody and I don't know their background, like if I, like, for example, if I meet you, I assume you're European. So I'll be like, hey, I'm like, you're Kiwi or European Kiwi or whatever. Or if you tell me what country you're from, then I'll know how to address you. But I color is just out of my thing. And I don't have a victim mentality about that anymore.
Yeah.
Whereas when I was younger, it's, even today in politics, is used as a weapon, identity, whether it's around race or sexuality. And it's to appeal to people's emotional fragility.
Yeah.
And that's what happens even during election years. It's something that they play against. And I see that division being played against people. So I approach people from their ethnicity because that's where your history and your humanity's from.
So it wasn't it didn't really affect your
no,
career.
it didn't. I mean, it may have in some way that somebody else felt that way.
Yeah.
But I never viewed it as like I didn't get a role because I was black.
Because you were like, okay, it just wasn't a right fit for me.
I was grateful for anything that
That's
came my way.
Yeah.
And I think I might have answered the second part.
Yeah. Second part, of course. Yeah.
Just double checking.
And also, like, you've done a lot of like work at the start, which being an extra, right?
Yeah.
Do you think sometimes being an extra is hard because you are not supposed to really show much of your talent? You know, you're just gonna be there, and then it's just harder to just show that, hey, I have got this and this sort of like talent that I can show. Like I've got this passion and I have got the skill, but I'm not able to express that because the job that you require me is so minimal.
Yeah.
So do you think that's difficult, and how do you tell like people who are in that stage to get out of it?
Well, it was sort of like the advice I gave earlier, which is telling them background work is a good place to start. And doing background work, even if you have more you want to express, it's like you have to work within the parameters of that show.
Yeah.
So, and extras serve a purpose. In LA, they don't call them extras. Like in LA, they call them background artists.
Yeah, background. You're not supposed to say
That
extras.
sounds so much better, right?
Yeah, because it feels a little bit more like, respectful.
Yeah.
But they serve a purpose to the story. So no, like it's not. Yeah. So if they, I would say, to get into it, if you got more that you want to do, find time to make your own short films or apply for them. Go on these casting websites and make a profile and start
Do some photos.
Start that way.
Yeah.
But definitely get in the environment, get on set so you can get used to everything. And you can make it real and tangible to you.
Yeah.
So you can watch other actors on set and going, oh, okay, this is the professionalism it takes.
Yeah.
You know?
Also, this is a fan moment. I'm a huge fan of Post Malone, and you were in his music video. How is he like?
Posty, he's cool. He was cool. He was high.
I think I've never seen that guy sober, right?
Well, I never thought I heard that about Post Malone.
He's a cool dude. Very
Cool high dude.
He's a cool high guy.
Yeah, cool dude. Very. It's my impression of chatting with him and spending time with him. He was very chill, very grateful. He seemed like a very grateful person. Like he was very aware that the music he's making was more like African American hip hoppy type thing, and he felt like he was a guest in it.
Yeah.
So he seemed like he was just kind of happy to be like in the room, and be accepted and embraced and stuff.
But he's friendly to work with, really down to earth, isn't he?
Yeah, because African Americans, if we see somebody that either raps or if they start dancing or whatever, they jump into the dance. We're hyped. We're like, hey, come in, like. Yeah. So it's a festive thing. So he got a warm embrace, and he just seemed very grateful. It was no arrogance or anything about that with him, and that actually led to an opportunity with Cartoon Network and Adult Swim. From me meeting Post Malone. Other people picked up on it, and I got a lot of gigs while I was in LA, and that's how I ran into the Diddy thing. So,
Well, Kelvin Taylor,
yeah.
he has a website as well. Check him out. He's really good. He's got an amazing podcast. I've actually watched a few of your videos as well.
Dude's brilliant.
Um,
Controversial,
No, it's
but I'm controversy.
who else is not? Everything is not
Not to hurt
controversial.
feelings, but to help our planet.
100%. Any closing remarks?
Love you guys. Thank you for having
No,
me.
thank you so much for
Thank
coming,
you.
bro.
Thank
Like,
you so much.
seriously, this was like,
Thank you, dudes, for having me. Yes.
I actually have no
Seriously.
words to say.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
so
no.
in depth listening to this.
this is the first time. Like, I feel like the guest spoke way more than I do.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm stunned. You know me. I'm like, I'm talkative.
Because
I'm like,
when someone's like, I'm outside P. Diddy's mansion, there's nothing else that I can.
There's no way to top the mansion.
What am I supposed to say?
Come to the Diddler's party.
no, I think it's just cool to hear like an honest experience, you know?
Yeah.
Not from what you hear, but from like somebody who's been there.
Oh, man.
And I think I've got nothing to say, man. Like it's being super entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna have like millions of questions once this is completed.
Off camera questions.
I've got a lot
Yeah.
to tell you about myself. I don't want to say this
All
on
right.
podcast.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Trade
Alright.
secrets. Trade secrets.
But there is something.
Yeah.
And I want to have a chat to you about it actually. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
100%.
Man.
And thank you guys so much if you watched the episode. Thank you so much. Trying to clear the platform for everybody open to come and talk. And Kelvin was so friendly, and he just actually messaged and just like, hey, I'm there to support. So thank you so much.
Thank
Highly
you.
appreciate it. We should do this again.
Yes.
Because I feel like we had there's so much we haven't talked about.
There's
at
so
all,
much to
right?
talk.
Yeah.
I know. I was trying not to talk too much.
Yeah,
Trying to wrap it up.
yeah. But and thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next show.
Yes.
Thank you.
Boom.